start with what do you admire most about your characters?
I admire my character's strength in the beginning and the vulnerability he finds at the end. He finds his way to accept vulnerability in a way that I think a lot of men struggle to, especially a
Mhm.
man like him who's strong, he's physical, he's a fighter literally by trade. And for him to find the depths of vulnerability that he gets to at the end, I really, really admire that.
I would say for me that I think the thing I admire most is her, yeah, I guess I think you just said this about courage. Um, the courage that it took for her to pull herself up out of this deep depression.
Mm.
Say that. Yeah, and to face herself and to say,
Hmm.
okay, there's more to this than just, this darkness.
This is a perfect segue into then emotionally. What was the most challenging scene to get right?
Wow, that's a tough question because I feel like we're making a film.
Or a few.
Every scene is a challenge to get
I
right.
can imagine. Yeah.
Really, I don't want to pick a scene as a spoiler because I think there's a lot of scenes that were very challenging to get right emotionally, but as spoilers. But I will say in some of the like intimate loving scenes,
Hmm.
it's kind of tricky. Like how do you play it truthfully and honestly without becoming saccharine and
Hmm.
just being sappy and too soft? So I think that was like an interesting thing of like what is the truth of their specific love language and interactions and like their intimacy. And so one of my favorite moments that showcases that is like where the characters in the backyard and she has her boxing gloves on and Miles,
Oh,
my character, has the mitts and they're working and training and she stops hitting the mitts and punches him in the stomach. And it's just like a such a cute moment that was organic and not scripted to happen that way. And it was just amazing.
That wasn't in the fight choreography.
No, I
It's
was
just a nice
very,
little solar plexus
I took
jab.
a shot to the, I took a shot
I
to the
went off, I
ass.
just went off. I was like,
You
bam.
felt the move.
And he was like, ouch. He was like, cute.
Oh,
Ooh, the scene that I cannot talk about was the most challenging scene to
Okay.
get right. Obviously, as you know why, but the
Okay.
second scene emotionally were the argument scenes.
Okay.
The back-to-back argument scenes were very important to get right, and they were challenging for a lot of different for reasons of like the actors going through it, all of us having to live in that moment while they're doing it. Were very challenging. Yeah, but needed to get right to set the tone and the stage for the rest of the movie.
How about logistically?
The scene that's in the trailer where she gets grabbed from the mirror, logistically very tough to get right. And the scenes where the fighting scenes are happening are very logistically they're rough to get right because it's the scenes where there's two characters in the same space at the same time, and those are hard to do and get right, and logistically speaking.
It's perfect that you brought up love languages because I would love to know how would you two describe your communication styles? Not necessarily love languages, but just communication styles. Because I feel like that's definitely something that got between these two. But you as you, not your characters.
And maybe there's something to that in my character and Kiara. I'm like pretty independent, I was raised by a single mom and I had brothers always. So I was like the girl. I was always like expected to do everything. And I just like was always like, you know what? I'm not messing with you. I'm gonna do my own thing because y'all boys are boys and you know, and girls just mature quicker. So I was always pretty independent. So I think in relationships that can sometimes be an issue, even with friendships, because I'm just like, well, you know, you're like the independent, strong one. So that can, but if you're never, it can be, what's the word? Um, what's the word? It can make
Is
you
it
distant,
isolating? Oh.
isolating. You can isolate yourself maybe, or
Mhm.
it can be can push people away
Mm.
sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think, and with this movie, I think there is an element of that because Kiara, like a lot of high performing women who just go after their dreams in a way, you know, it can be off-putting for other people if you don't need anyone. If you do everything by yourself, then why do you need anyone else? And so there's a little bit of that, or a lot of that in this movie because she kind of just, she just goes into herself and she's like, I don't need anyone. I'll take care of myself. And it's not healthy. It's usually unhealthy, but it's just a way of, it's like a coping mechanism. And then it forces you to kind of like stop communicating. So anyway, that was long-winded, but that now you get the idea.
I think my communication style is direct.
Okay.
I think I'm a really direct communicator, which sometimes I think comes off as a little, not maybe curt or a little too direct, but that's my style. I like to be direct, cut to the chase. This is how I feel. This is what I want. This is what I need. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. Boom.